So this is Takara Stacia here with 2020 the magazine, and I am so fortunate, so excited to be sitting here chatting today with the self-proclaimed HBIC of Underbelly Yoga, Miss Jessamyn Stanley. What's up?
Yo, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for saying my appropriate job title because that
Yes,
is really
listen, I
what.
love it. Let them know who you are.
I mean, I think it's like there's a founder, and then there's a head bitch in charge, and there's one of those hats that I think has to be. I'm trying to own it in my in my life, like that's what it is.
I love it. So that I have to jump right in and say your level of confidence, like how did you get there?
Mm. I think. Well, first of all, I don't think that I actively feel as confident as I appear to other people. So I think that a huge part of it must be accepting that I'm not confident to some degree. I'm really bad about that. And I have a tendency to get into this headspace of like, I want to know everything and do everything. But it's only been since becoming more vulnerable or being open to being more vulnerable and just being like, okay, I'm going to fall flat on my face, and that's what that is, like being like, I'm going to leap and there's no net. And that's just what it is. I think that instills a sense of confidence because it's like you got nothing to lose at that point. There's no facade to hold up. So, yeah, it's probably the opposite is what does that.
What I'm gonna tell you what it sounds like to me though, a level of strength more so than confidence. So one thing you said just now was just knowing that there's no net, yet you still leap. That to me says that there's no fear. Where did you get that mindset?
Hmm. You know, I think it has helped me to be consistently marginalized. Like when I was young, I went to a lot of predominantly white schools. And so I was always like the only in that environment. And then like coming up in this industry where there's not a lot of fat black queer people um, that are in some of the rooms that I show up in. I think that it means there just has to be like there has to be some ownership of that truth, and like just being like, I'm here for whoever, not for anyone else. Ultimately, I'm here for myself. how can i how can I show up as myself as much as possible? And like, it's funny because the company that owns the Underbelly is called Fearless, and I named it that because I was like, that's what I want us to be all the time. I want us to always be just standing in, like, it's like you feel the fear and you feel the heat because you have to see it and you have to feel it in order to be able to exist within it. And still, even in seeing that fear, saying I'm gonna keep going anyway.
Right.
And there's a thrill that comes with that that's pretty intoxicating. I think that feeling of like, just it's adrenaline, it's exhilaration, it's scary, very scary. And I don't want to make it seem like it's not scary because it is, but ultimately worth it.
I know for me, it's also a driving force. So I tell a lot of people
Mhm.
that I grew up at the age of 39. And I say at 40, well, before I even turned 40 this year, I was like, look, at this point in my life, there is no room for fear. So
Mm.
the adrenaline that comes behind that is why we're sitting here today. It's why I'm able to sit in front of someone that I follow. Like, girl, you have almost 500,000 people looking
Mm.
at you. You've created this platform. You're this Carolina girl that I
Mhm.
we adore. I'm a Carolina girl too. South
I was
Carolina.
gonna ask you. I was like, "Are you from the South too? You from
South
North Carolina?"
Carolina.
Okay, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes.
Even in not having that net and saying, I'm going to jump, what then made you say, I'm going to create my own platform? I'm going to
Mm.
put it out here for the world to see, whether it comes with judgment, criticism, applause, or whatever. Let's put it on the stage for everybody. What got you there?
So, okay, so there were a couple of different things. The biggest thing I would say is that I've taught online yoga classes for a number of years. And in that experience, working for companies that are frankly owned by white men who do not practice yoga, they may practice yoga, but they don't teach yoga. They don't hold, they don't value spirituality as anything more than a commodity. They definitely feel like, or it seems as though they position most things toward how can we sell this product, the product being a spiritual identity. And so I found myself in conflict with that all the time. Like I felt like I didn't feel like I was able to express myself as a teacher because I was really hemmed in by those values. And I realized that I wanted to start a platform where it was just like I could control what was going to happen, because I felt like there was so much just spiritually out of my control with those experiences. And it powered me to feel like, why are there not more people? Like, why are all of these wellness platforms owned by people who don't actually live those practices? Like, what's preventing the rest of us from doing our own thing? And I felt like there was then a responsibility for me as an entrepreneur to stand in my truth and be that thing that I was looking for, like to be that example to some degree, and to really just try to go out on my own without feeling like I needed to hold somebody else's hand at the same time. And so there's that. And then there's also this part of me that was like, I just want to be able to put out yoga content that is not about like pretending to have any certain lifestyle. Like, I feel like there's so much yoga stuff on the internet that's just fake. Like, it's about selling this idea of what happy is, or what beautiful is, or what calm and zen are. And I just think that that has nothing to do with what yoga is. Yoga is about the light and the dark of life. It's about the nasty moments as much as it's about the good moments. And I was like, I just want to have a space where it's okay to have that experience, where it's okay to be messy and complicated and problematic, and to sit at the crossroad of intersections and to own those intersections within yourself, and to understand that those intersections are a huge part of why you're here on this planet. And so really the underbelly just encapsulates that experience, that however you show up, whoever you are, wherever you are, how you are right now is exactly how you need to be.
I love it. I love it. How did you come up with the name?
Well, my business partner and I, we threw a lot of names at the wall, and we landed on the underbelly because it doesn't sound like a yoga studio for the first thing. I was like, I never heard of a yoga studio called something like that. And then I thought, it speaks to this tender part of ourselves that exists for everybody. Everybody has an underbelly, whether you want to show it to people or not. Like, it's that sensitive part of you, the part that feels like just like you have to hide it away from the rest of the world. And
Yeah.
we wanted ultimately to celebrate that piece of ourselves. And it's turned into something that ideologically I think I didn't even anticipate. And I'm glad other people get it. So I'm saying I'm glad everybody's like, yes, my underbelly. I got that. Yes. And also just like speaking to this part of the body that like so there's like the metaphorical underbelly and then there's the physical, like literally your underbelly. And I think that particularly in yoga, we don't talk about our bellies. We don't talk about that region. If you do, it's like belly blast, belly like making it smaller. It's not like let me let's put it on a pedestal. Let's let this area shine. And it's about lifting up that which we've been taught to be ashamed of.
I agree wholeheartedly. And let me tell you, I know nothing about yoga. I was one of those people who heard yoga and thought, oh, that's Zen. That's the people in California who have it together and eat salad all day. I knew that I was not.
Come on, eat salad all day.
So I caught myself going to a yoga class. And to be perfectly transparent, my belly is the part of my body that I despise. So when I walked into the yoga class, I'm already in like an oversized t-shirt and leggings pulled up to my neck and, trying to hide that underbelly.
Yeah.
But I think there was a sense of intimidation because everybody else in the yoga class looked like the stereotypical yoga class members. So I want to say first, I appreciate what you have created. Now, let's talk body positivity because I want people to be clear, as I had to be clear myself. Body positivity doesn't mean weight loss. Can you elaborate on the difference?
Yeah, I mean, body positivity, it's so interesting how this movement has been co-opted because honestly, like I've always thought that body positivity just means you're all right today. Everything about you right now is exactly where it needs to be. You don't need to change anything. You don't need to do anything. And that when you accept yourself as you are right now, that you are able to engage in a level of self-love that isn't possible otherwise. So if you're coming at it from this place of like, oh, well, when I lose weight or when I, change this part of my body or when something changes about me, then I can do the things that I want to do. Instead, you're saying, right now, today, I'm good. So I'm just going to complete all of my dreams right now. Like, I'm just going to do what I want. But body positivity has definitely been co-opted and gentrified and turned into this idea that, like, I don't even know what. It's kind of like fat girls deserve clothing too or something. I don't really know. It's become more about glorifying like cis feminine body types and like showing that like a certain amount of curve is okay, but not all of it. And then there's people who were like really into body positivity, but then they are defining body positivity as meaning that you need to be happy with your body all the time. And they're like, I don't feel happy about my body all the time. So I can't be body positive. I got to be body something else. So they're like body neutral, there's so many different versions of this. And my thought, honestly, is I'm just glad people are talking about it, frankly, because for too long we've been living in this version of reality where like no one can talk about their body issues. You just have to kind of pretend that they're not there and hope that you look different one day and then you won't have to think about it anymore. But it's something. Everybody has body issues. Everybody of every body type. Like usually the people who look the most like the mainstream image of beautiful have the most body issues. So that like I'm just always like, as long as we can all talk about the fact that we're messed up in the head about the way that our bodies look, then I think that's great. It doesn't really matter what you call it. Like you can call it nothing and still get to the same destination. It's like we're all going to the same party, but we just, you bring a different drink, you bring a different friend, you drive up in a different vehicle, but we're all going to the same destination.
Absolutely. Now, take me back 10 years ago.
Oh my God. Do I want to go back 10 years ago? Jesus.
Might as well. Let's throw
Yeah,
it.
no, right. Why
Back
not?
Tuesday.
Why not? Hop in the car. Got it.
Yeah, we're going. Jessamyn 10 years ago. Am I looking at her? Is that the same woman that's in front of me?
No. I mean, in my head, yeah, there's much that is the same. But in actuality and how other people experience me, probably not. Um, Jessamyn of 10 years ago, I'm still pretty volatile, but I was definitely a lot more volatile, like more liable to pop off on somebody out of nowhere. I was definitely um, much more, and to that, so like more argumentative, more like, you know, I've decided these certain things about myself, and like I know the kind of person that I am, and I'm not going to do XYZ thing because that's not the kind of person I am. Like if someone had a different opinion than me, I would commit myself to convincing them of my opinion. Like it
Wow.
didn't matter. And I do think so, as much as yoga has been a transformative physical experience, I do think that what has transformed me the most is how I show up um, spiritually and emotionally toward other people. Because that's what I notice the most is that I am, I think, more open to hearing other people's points of view and just sort of letting them exist. Not great at it at all by any means. And I I don't want to make it seem like I'm like, yeah, I got that figured out. No, this I'm just more aware, I think. But I also think there's some part of that that's just age and recognizing that things change, that you change as a person. And I think I was much more fearful a decade ago, much more fearful, like afraid of everything, mainly afraid of myself, afraid of my own capacity and potential, afraid that I wouldn't be able to reach the like expectations that I had or that other people had for me, very much afraid of that. And then, afraid to go places that I was unfamiliar with, or just step out on faith. Stepping out on faith to me was not a thing. That's been another huge shift that's come with practicing, that I didn't and it's probably honestly the thing that that I noticed first. When I first started practicing, I would like have these moments in class where the postures just seemed completely impossible to me. Like I'd be like looking around at other people like, how are they doing this? Like, how are you able to, reach for your foot right out in front of you while you're standing on one leg? Like, how are you able to bend your spine back? And I would just look and be like, man, I'm never going to be able to do that. Like, why even try? I would start to go into the posture and then I get pissed at myself and be like, man, I can't do that. Like, why even try? And I had this point where it was like, okay, well, you did pay $20 to be here. Like, you paid for this Groupon, because frankly, that was the only way that I could afford to practice, was get a Groupon, and then I had a work study at the studio. So I'm like, I'm in here. I paid to be in here. You could just spend the whole class being pissed that you think you can't do something, or you could just step out on faith and say, yeah, I'm going to fall down. Maybe I fall down, but maybe it's okay to fall down. Maybe it doesn't matter that I fall down. Maybe it's okay I was always afraid of other people seeing me be weak. I still find that to be a sticky spot. And, but I mean, back then it was just like, I can't let anyone see me not know what to do. Like the teacher's going to see me and all the other students are going to see. And it's like, there comes a point where it's like, you just gotta go for it. You just gotta, maybe you fall and maybe you need to fall. And that's allowing myself to just show up, ultimately experiencing compassion for myself. I think that's something that was not happening at all 10 years ago, like not even a little bit. So yeah, not the same thing, not the same person, a little bit different. Do you feel different 10 years ago to now?
Girl, listen, we could have been sisters because my
Oh,
papa has calmed down a lot. I'm excited to see what it does with yoga because I am determined to not only begin practicing yoga, but one of my life goals is to be able to do a vertical split. I've never
oh,
split a day in my life, but when you mentioned the whole grabbing your ankle and holding your leg straight in front of you, girl, I have prayed about this. Like, before I leave this world, I want to be able to do that. So,
oh my gosh, I have so much to say about this specific. To be able to split was a huge thing for me. Like it was something that as a kid I always wanted to be able to do splits. Like I was obsessed with
same
cheerleading, so
here.
I just want to be able to do this, and it just seemed like I used to dream about it as a child. I have a distinct memory of like trying to memorize capitals of Central American countries and also wanting to learn how to do a split. So in my dreams, I was reciting the names of these capitals and also doing splits. It was like a lifelong thing, right? So then when I first started practicing yoga, I was like, I'm gonna do a split. This is what I was like, I'm gonna do a full wheel pose, full back bend. I'm gonna do a handstand, and I'm gonna do a full split. And on the road to all of these postures, I've learned a lot about what it takes to practice them. And so much of what it takes is not physical, it's so much of it is emotional. And I think that, particularly with hip openers, it's like there's just so much baggage that is caught up in our hips. And when you start to move into the big hip openers, especially, it just, all you want to do is cry. You just cry, like forever crying. And it's almost like just giving yourself up to the road of crying. So that the fact that I practice full splits now is secondary to the fact that I like am actually able to access uh, tears, like actually being able to access emotion. And it's something that like I didn't think was gonna be a part of it. So I feel you is what I'm saying. I feel you.
Well, I listen, that is a part of my journey. So I will
Yes,
definitely keep you posted. Before I
please.
let you go, what's next? Like, you're an author, you have the podcast, you have the Underbelly brand, you are the Underbelly brand. Like, what's next? What do we have to look forward to, even the rest of this year?
Well, the Underbelly has lots of new content coming out, lots of new live classes. We're doing lots of new merch, just like all kinds of things coming as we really step beyond like, okay, so we're the little yoga studio that could into y'all, what's good? We are a whole community. This is a whole vibration, and like, let's play this out in real time, in big time. So that's what's going on with the Underbelly. I'm finishing up the follow up to my first book, Everybody Yoga. It should be out in 2021. I don't want to say anything more about it lest I jinx myself, but
Yeah,
that is what's coming up on that horizon. And but other than that, it's just like, spreading this practice, spreading the love, and really trying to make sure that people know that yoga is really for everybody.
absolutely. Well, I look forward to interviewing you once the second book comes out. And
I'm
I got to tell
over
you,
there.
okay, I love your energy. And the first time I saw your logo, of course, I knew it stood for the Underbelly. But after watching your videos, I was like, oh, girl, that could stand for unbothered because that is the energy that you give off. And I love it. So thank you.
Thank you.
We-
Thank you. It's all of us together. Thank you, man. Thank you.
All right. We look forward to talking to you again soon.
I'm looking forward to that too. Have a good afternoon.
You too.
Peace.